Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I want to talk about astrology and the kidnapping of Karol Sanchez. I put kidnapping in quotes when I say this because this apparently was a staged kidnapping based on internet reports, and this is what I saw based on a feed on Twitter. Apparently, what happened was it was like on December 16th. This was recently where Karol Sanchez appeared to have been kidnapped, but it looks like now it is likely staged, that she actually concocted some scheme to have herself kidnapped, appear to be kidnapped, give the illusion of being kidnapped in order to avoid an overly protective and domineering mother. Now, this might not 100% confirm, but this is something based on some Twitter feed I had seen, that this is likely what has transpired. And on her, what I looked is, of course, I don't have her time of birth, but I looked at, there was something online from some police report on Twitter that her birth date, some police photo had her at April 5th, 2003. Uh, Making her, of course, a sun in Aries. And of course, sun in Aries people can be rather self-reliant and independent, and they can be very original and pioneering. They are very, they're ones that, sometimes, in this case, Mercury is in Aries based on the solar sunrise chart I did, based on where I'm putting the sun by the ascendant. But anyway, that is, and given that, of course, Mercury, if her Mercury is indeed, her Mercury is either in Aries or Taurus, depending on time of birth. But if it is indeed in Aries, wouldn't surprise me, because Mercury in Aries, of course, could be very original, pioneering thinking. And in the solar sunrise chart, I found one thing was interesting is that uh, Pluto's in Sagittarius. I know it's generational, but it's retrograde. Pluto can be connected with kidnappings, but given that it's retrograde, I'm not surprised that this was likely a kidnapping that she staged. This was her own kidnapping that she did to herself, basically, so to speak. Her own planned kidnapping. Now, funny thing is that when I looked at her chart, most of in the solar sunrise chart, most, if not all, the planets were on, I think one, maybe all but one, were on the left side of the chart, which of course emphasizes and accentuates self-reliance and independence, and not wanting to be, not really needing others to cajole or coax somebody to get things done. And of course, being the sun in Aries again can be very self-reliant, self-sufficient. And the thing about this is too, and it's interesting again, she wanted, apparently seems like she wanted to get away from a overprotective, domineering parent that wanted, according to a report I saw online on a Twitter feed, that is, this is very possible she was going, the mother wanted her to go to another country, and she just was, she staged this kidnapping in order to avoid that. But the thing is, another thing that I noticed in her chart is that in the solar sunrise chart is that transit Neptune is in her 12th house, and that could be some kind of fallacious or deceptive kidnapping. 12th house can be connected with disappearances, which could include, I would say, kidnapping. Now, Pluto also is, as well. And the thing about this is, um, another thing that I noticed in her chart, in Karol Sanchez's chart, she has Pallas in Pisces, and that could be, Pallas could be connected with how we solve problems. Pallas being in Pisces in the 12th house could be about using deception, imagination to to do something in connection with disappearing. In 12th house can be connected with disappearing, which can include um, kidnapping. So I thought that was interesting the way that worked out. Now it makes a long square to her Saturn in Gemini, so it's no surprise that there was going to be authority that was going to conflict which would pose as an obstacle to this. In this case, she was apprehended by police. Also, she's got transit Saturn by very pretty close proximity to her natal Mars in Capricorn, which is an indicator that authority was going to catch up with her in terms of any actions at this time. And it's very interesting. I mean, of course, Capricorn, very premeditative energy. Mars, of course, is exalted in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn could be about planning, very premeditative, planned actions. But Saturn, transit Saturn, making close conjunction to it, of course, can sometimes prohibit or restrict those actions that were very strongly premeditated at this time. And the thing about this too is that another interesting transit that Karol Sanchez had at this time of her being apprehended was that transit Black Moon Lilith in Pisces made a very tight, making a tight conjunction to her palace in Pisces. So when you're talking about Black Moon Lilith energy, that could be about very strong revelation or unveilings, and when you're talking about something that you didn't want to come out. And in this case, this is something where, something that didn't, the fact that transit is making a tight conjunction to the Black Moon Lilith in Pisces can be an indication that there was a strong revelation or unveiling of something that was connected with deception and deceit and disappearance that she didn't want to come out. And for her, unfortunately for her, it did. But the thing is, it's a good thing that the police did catch up with her, and that she was apprehended, and that she's okay, she's unharmed and unscathed. So those were some things I wanted to touch up on as far as that goes in terms of her disappearance. But it's not surprising that this was a staged disappearance in all likelihood. So those are some things I thought were very interesting. Now, she also has Uranus in the 12th house, so it's not surprising that this means staged, that there were friends that played a role in the supposed disappearance at this time. So anyway, and another thing that I noticed too, transit she's having based on, this is just not her solar sunrise chart, that transit North Node in Cancer was close to her 4th house cusp. And the thing about this is, when you're talking about the North Node in transit, this could be, about issues that one may have to confront. And this could be about confronting a family related matter. When you're having transit North Node in Cancer, being close to your 4th house in your chart, that could be an indicator of having to confront perhaps the less dominant parent, which is often the mother, over being overly protective perhaps. And so because Cancerian energy can be about being very protective. So I thought this was very interesting at this time. And the thing is too, is that it's not surprising that, given this energy, that transit Sun was also in the 9th house in her in the solar sunrise chart that I made about her. And the thing about this is about shining in something of a global nature. This is something, of course, that is seen on Twitter, and this has become likely a global, I would say, well, it is a global story, I would say, if it's in the news. This could be in something, in, of course, Sagittarius on a grand scale, of course, as well. So those are some things that I did notice regarding as far as her chart, and as far as the transits that are associated with it. So anyway, that's pretty much what I wanted to get at as far as this goes. But anyway, people, until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.